The night often arrives more quietly than we notice. One moment the day is still present in the background, and the next it has begun to soften, as if its edges are slowly fading. You do not need to pay close attention to this shift. Simply being here is enough. The light is likely lower now, the sounds more distant, and even the air may feel calmer against your skin. Nothing is required from you. There is no task to complete, no idea to understand. This moment is already doing its work. As the world grows quieter, the body tends to recognize this change before the mind does. Muscles that have been holding small tensions throughout the day may begin to loosen on their own. Breathing can become slower, not because you are controlling it, but because there is less urgency around you. The night carries a different rhythm, one that does not push or demand. You are allowed to move at that rhythm now. Thoughts may still be present, drifting in and out, but they do not need to be followed. You can let them pass the way distant sounds pass outside a window. Each one can come and go without asking for a response. Even if the mind feels active, there is nothing wrong happening. This gentle restlessness is often part of the transition, and it usually settles when it is ready. There is a quiet reassurance in knowing that this experience is familiar, even if it feels slightly different each night. The body has done this before. It knows how to move from alertness toward rest without instructions. You do not need to guide it. You can simply notice the sense of slowing, the way moments feel a little longer, the way effort begins to lose its importance. For now, let the idea of night remain in the background, like a soft presence rather than a topic to examine. We are not here to explain anything yet. We are only allowing space for the calm that tends to appear when the day steps back. This calm does not rush. It arrives gradually, and it continues quietly, unfolding at its own pace. As the evening settles in, there is often a subtle moment when the day stops asking for your attention. It may not be dramatic. It can feel more like a quiet stepping back, as if responsibilities gently move to the edges of awareness. The mind does not need to push them away. They simply become less loud. This soft change is something many people sense without naming, and the body usually responds before any thought about it forms. You might notice that movements slow slightly, even if you are not trying to rest yet. Simple actions can feel less urgent, and pauses between them grow a little longer. The body recognizes that the environment is safer now, calmer, more predictable. There is less need to stay alert. This recognition happens naturally, without effort or instruction, and it often brings a small sense of relief. The sounds around you may also change in character. They become fewer, farther apart, or softer in tone. Silence itself can feel fuller at night, not empty, but gently supportive. Even familiar noises seem less demanding. The nervous system responds to this quiet by easing its constant scanning, allowing attention to loosen slightly, just enough to feel more comfortable. Light plays a role as well, becoming dimmer and less sharp. Shadows soften, and the eyes no longer search for detail in the same way. This shift sends a quiet signal inward, suggesting that it is acceptable to stop monitoring everything so closely. The world feels less insistent, and with that change, the mind can begin to release some of its grip. Thoughts often follow this shift. They may still appear, but with less insistence. Instead of lining up to be solved, they drift in uneven patterns. Some fade quickly, others linger briefly, but none need to be completed. This is not something to manage. It is simply part of how the mind responds when the pressure of the day begins to lift. This stepping back of the day does not mean it disappears. It remains somewhere in the background, waiting without urgency. For now, it is enough to notice that you are no longer required to carry it so tightly. The night offers a pause, and within that pause, a sense of permission quietly grows, slowly and without effort. You can rest here, knowing this gentle slowing has happened countless times before, and it will continue quietly tonight, supporting you without asking anything, allowing the next moments to unfold at their own pace, with ease now. Attention often begins to change before we realize it has shifted. During the day, it tends to feel tight, pointed, moving quickly from one thing to the next. At night, that sharpness slowly softens. Focus does not disappear, but it widens, becoming less interested in holding on to a single thought. This is not something you need to encourage. It happens quietly, on its own, as the surrounding calm continues to settle in. You may notice that the mind starts to wander in gentler ways. Thoughts connect loosely, rather than logically, drifting without a clear destination. One idea may appear and fade before it finishes forming, replaced by another that feels lighter, less demanding. This drifting is not a sign of distraction or tiredness in a negative sense. It is part of a natural adjustment, one that continues quietly as the night deepens. The body plays a role here as well. As muscles relax and breathing remains slow and steady, attention no longer needs to stay anchored to the outside world. There is less scanning, less checking. Awareness can turn inward slightly, resting on simple sensations instead of problems or plans. This inward movement does not require effort. It unfolds gradually, guided by the same calm that has been building since the evening began. Sometimes attention settles on small, neutral details. The feeling of fabric, the gentle rise and fall of the chest, the steady presence of the room around you. These details do not ask for interpretation. They simply exist, offering the mind something soft to rest on. When attention meets these simple sensations, it often lingers there, not because it must, but because there is nowhere else it needs to be. This drifting quality of attention is not a final state. It shifts and changes, moving closer to stillness, then gently away again. That movement is normal. The mind is not trying to arrive anywhere. It is exploring a quieter rhythm, one that does not rely on focus or control. We will notice this pattern again later as it keeps unfolding in the background. For now, it is enough to recognize that attention is no longer gripping tightly. It is loosening, releasing small efforts without announcing it. You do not need to follow where it goes. You can simply allow it to drift, trusting that this gentle change is familiar to the body and mind, and that it continues quietly, carrying you further into rest without asking for direction or understanding. The brain responds to night in ways that are often felt rather than noticed. As light fades and activity slows, its usual pace begins to change. Signals that once felt sharp and immediate soften, as if the mind is being asked to listen instead of react. This is not a switch being turned off. It is a gradual dimming, similar to the way evening light settles into a room without anyone adjusting a lamp. Instead of working toward clear outcomes, the brain begins to favor simpler patterns. It pays less attention to what comes next and more to what is already present. This does not mean thinking stops. It means thinking loses some of its urgency. Ideas arrive more gently, and they leave the same way, without needing to be organized or resolved. This quieter mode continues quietly, unfolding without effort. There is also less contrast at night. Emotions, thoughts, and sensations tend to blend rather than stand apart. The brain no longer separates experiences so sharply into important and unimportant. Everything becomes more even, more neutral. This softening can feel comforting, like being wrapped in something familiar. It allows awareness to relax without disappearing. You might sense this as a slight distance between you and your thoughts. They are still there, but they feel farther away, less personal. The brain is no longer holding them close. It is giving them space. This space does not need to be filled. It simply exists, and the mind often rests there naturally, without realizing it has done so. This change is not something the brain finishes or completes. It moves back and forth, easing and pausing, adjusting to the quiet environment. Sometimes clarity returns briefly, then fades again. That movement is part of the process. We will notice this rhythm again later, as it keeps unfolding in the background, steady and unhurried. For now, there is no need to understand what the brain is doing or why it feels different. It is enough to allow this softer light to remain, to let the mind stay slightly out of focus. The night supports this state without asking for attention, and the brain continues quietly, responding to that support, carrying you further into rest, gently and without conclusion. Control often feels like something the mind must actively release, but at night, it loosens without being asked. During the day, decisions line up one after another, each one holding attention in place. As evening deepens, that pressure fades. Choices do not disappear, yet they stop insisting on being made. The mind notices this change indirectly, through a growing sense of ease rather than through clear awareness. There is a subtle relief in not needing to decide what comes next. Thoughts may still appear, but they arrive without instructions attached. They do not demand action, correction, or judgment. This is not because the mind has finished its work. It is because the environment no longer encourages constant direction. The night creates a space where control simply becomes less useful. You might sense this as a lightness around your thoughts. They move more freely, without colliding or forming tight chains. One idea can drift past without pulling another behind it. Even worries tend to lose their sharp edges, becoming softer impressions instead of urgent messages. This easing happens gradually, continuing quietly as the calm established earlier settles deeper. The body supports this shift in its own way. When muscles rest and breathing remain steady, there is less feedback demanding attention. Without that feedback, the mind does not need to manage or adjust as much. Control loosens not because it is surrendered, but because it is no longer required. The system begins to operate on a simpler rhythm. This process does not mean you are letting go correctly or incorrectly. There is no right amount of release. Some thoughts may still feel close, others distant. That variation is natural. The mind is exploring a quieter mode, one where effort is optional. We will notice this again later, as the pattern keeps unfolding without reaching a conclusion. For now, you can allow this lack of decision to remain. Nothing needs to be solved, planned, or improved. The night does not ask for direction. It offers a pause where control rests on its own, waiting without tension. Within that pause, the mind often discovers that it can soften further, carried gently by the same calm that has been present all along, steady and familiar, continuing quietly as rest draws nearer. This sense of easing does not require trust or belief, only a willingness to stay with what already feels simple, allowing the night to hold attention gently, without direction, without expectation, as the body and mind continue adjusting together, slowly, quietly, repeating this familiar motion that has carried countless evenings forward. and will keep doing so now. And again, the body communicates in quiet ways, especially at night. Instead of sharp signals, it offers gentle suggestions, subtle shifts in temperature, a deeper heaviness in the limbs, a steadier rhythm in the breath. These signals are not commands. They do not insist on being noticed. They simply appear, inviting awareness to rest rather than respond. This invitation continues quietly, unfolding without urgency. Breathing often becomes the most consistent of these signals. It may feel slower or more even, not because it has changed dramatically, but because there is less interference. The body no longer needs to adjust itself constantly. Each breath follows the last with minimal effort, creating a steady pattern that does not require attention. When the mind notices this rhythm, it often settles nearby, listening without focus. There can also be a growing sense of weight, as if the body is sinking slightly into whatever supports it. This weight is not heaviness in a tiring way. It is grounding, reassuring. Muscles that were holding small, unnoticed tensions begin to release them in stages. Some areas soften sooner than others, and that difference is natural. The body takes its time, continuing quietly at its own pace. These physical signals do not lead to a clear endpoint. They come and go, sometimes becoming more noticeable, sometimes fading into the background. The body is not trying to reach sleep directly. It is adjusting, responding to the environment, checking that it is safe to slow down. This gentle checking does not need supervision. It happens below awareness, steady and familiar. As these signals repeat, they create a background sense of comfort. Nothing new needs to happen for that comfort to remain. The same breath, the same stillness, the same support continues to be present. We will notice this again later, as the body keeps offering these quiet cues, unchanged, reliable, and soft. For now, it is enough to let the body speak in its own language. There is no need to interpret what it means or where it leads. The night listens without interruption, and the body responds by easing further into its natural rhythm. This rhythm does not announce completion. It simply continues, calm and unhurried, carrying you forward without effort, allowing rest to deepen naturally, one quiet signal at a time, as the space around you remains steady and safe, holding everything gently in place. This experience of slowing is not unique to you. Across different places and times, people have noticed the same gentle change when night arrives. Long before there were clocks or schedules, the dark signaled a pause, a shared moment when activity softened and attention turned inward. That shared pattern still exists, quietly repeating itself each evening, whether it is noticed or not. There is comfort in knowing that countless others are moving through a similar transition right now. Somewhere, someone else is also feeling the day loosen its hold, sensing that familiar easing without thinking much about it. This quiet synchrony does not require connection or awareness. It simply exists, like a background rhythm that links individual moments into something wider and steadier. Cultures have found different ways to describe this time, but the feeling remains similar. Stories, rituals, and simple routines often emerge around the evening not to explain it, but to sit within it. These practices reflect an understanding that night does not need to be filled with meaning or answers. It is enough to allow it to be what it is, a space where effort naturally reduces. When attention widens to include this broader perspective, personal concerns often feel less heavy. They do not vanish, but they take up less space. The mind recognizes that it does not need to hold everything alone. This recognition is subtle, more like a soft reassurance than a thought. It settles quietly, reinforcing the calm that has been building since the beginning. This wider pattern does not resolve anything. It does not explain why the mind loosens its grip or where that loosening leads. It simply continues, night after night, repeating the same gentle invitation to slow down. We will notice this again later, as the sense of shared rhythm remains present, steady and familiar. For now, you can rest within this larger flow, knowing that nothing about this moment is unusual or fragile. The night supports it, just as it always has. Within that support, the mind and body continue adjusting together, carried by a rhythm that does not rush, does not conclude, and does not require understanding, allowing you to remain here comfortably as the quiet deepens and the experience keeps unfolding without effort. The night itself becomes more noticeable as everything else grows quieter, not as something to observe closely, but as a surrounding presence that holds the moment together. It does not push attention in any direction. Instead, it creates a gentle boundary where less happens, and that absence of activity feels supportive rather than empty. Within this space, the mind does not need to search or prepare. Darkness plays its part without explanation. It softens edges, reduces contrast, and allows details to fade into the background. The world feels simpler, less demanding. This simplicity is not created by effort. It is offered naturally, and the body and mind accept it without comment. The calm that has been building now feels more settled, less likely to shift. Repetition becomes comforting here. The same quiet, the same stillness, the same steady sense of being held by the night. Nothing new needs to be introduced. The mind can return again and again to the feeling of safety already established. Each return deepens comfort without adding thought, reinforcing the ease that has been present all along. There is also a sense of enclosure, as if the night gathers everything gently and keeps it from drifting too far. Sounds remain distant, movements minimal. Even time seems less precise, stretching softly rather than moving forward in clear steps. This quality allows awareness to loosen further, resting without curiosity or expectation. At this stage, understanding becomes unnecessary. The experience no longer invites explanation. It invites staying. We are not moving toward an answer, only toward greater familiarity with this quiet state. The mind recognizes that nothing is changing suddenly, and that stability itself is reassuring. For now, let the night continue to hold the space around you. There is no need to follow the narrative closely. The same calm will repeat, moment after moment, unchanged and reliable. This repetition prevents wakefulness, allowing comfort to replace curiosity, and letting awareness sink deeper into rest, carried gently by the night's steady presence as everything remains soft, predictable, and safe, continuing quietly, without asking anything in return. At this point, there is no need to move forward. The experience does not require progress or direction. Attention can drift without aiming for anything, like floating on still water. The calm that has been building does not ask to be deepened or examined. It simply remains steady and familiar, allowing awareness to rest wherever it naturally settles. Thoughts, if they appear, can do so without meaning. They may feel incomplete, trailing off before they form fully. This unfinished quality is not a problem to solve. It is part of the comfort of the moment. The mind no longer needs to connect ideas or follow them to an end. It can let them fade quietly, one by one, without keeping track. Breathing, still present in the background, continues its gentle rhythm. There is no need to notice each breath. The body manages it easily, without instruction. That steady movement provides a soft anchor. Not something to focus on, but something that supports stillness. Everything else can drift around it, unimportant and light. Time here feels less structured. Minutes are not counted. There is only a sense of continuation, smooth and unbroken. Nothing signals a transition or an arrival. This lack of markers prevents the mind from waking to check where it is. It allows awareness to stay diffuse, comfortably unfocused. The calm no longer feels new. It feels normal, expected. This familiarity is what allows the mind to let go further, without noticing the moment it does so. The night remains unchanged, offering the same quiet support it has been offering all along. You do not need to stay with these words. They can fade into the background like distant sounds. The experience continues without them, unfolding gently, without conclusion. Nothing is about to happen, and nothing needs to. This drifting without arrival is enough, carrying awareness onward in the same steady way, repeating itself quietly, safely, until attention naturally slips into rest, held by the calm that does not ask to be named or understood. There's nothing left to follow now. The quiet that has been present from the beginning remains, unchanged and steady. It does not need to deepen or become something else. It is enough as it is. Awareness can rest here without effort, without checking, without expectation. The night continues to hold everything gently in place. Words no longer need to be listened to. They can soften and blur, becoming part of the background, like distant sounds that no longer carry meaning. The mind does not need to stay alert to them. It can let them pass or let them dissolve completely. The same calm repeats itself, moment after moment, familiar and reassuring. Breathing continues on its own, the body supported and still. There is no signal that something is ending or beginning. Everything feels continuous, smooth and safe. This continuity prevents the mind from rising back into attention. Nothing changes suddenly, and nothing asks to be noticed. If thoughts appear, they do so quietly and without shape. They do not need to be finished. They do not need to be remembered. The mind can remain open and soft, allowing everything to drift through without resistance. This openness is not an effort. It is simply the absence of effort. The night does not require understanding. It does not offer conclusions. It only offers space. In that space, the body and mind continue resting together, repeating the same gentle rhythm that has carried the evening forward. This rhythm has no endpoint and no destination. You can allow yourself to remain here, without holding on to these words, without waiting for the next moment. The experience continues quietly on its own. There is nothing to do, nothing to decide, and nowhere to go. Everything that needs to happen is already happening, softly and steadily. As rest takes over and awareness fades naturally into sleep, held by the same calm that has been present all along, unchanged, quiet, and safe.